Okay, so we're holding in chapter 36, which is on page 164. In English and Hebrew, it's on page 165. One and the same page. The Alter Rebbe, today is the 10th day of Kislev, which is a day of liberation of the Alter Rebbe's son, the Mittel Rebbe. I believe in 1826, something like that. So he was in jail for the spreading of Chassidus, for the spreading of these teachings, the teaching of his father, which at that time there were many Jews themselves that were against this teaching, the spreading of the teachings of Chassidus, and they informed him and them on the government, and they were ultimately jailed for. They told him that they are not only it's against the king, you know. That time was the king, and spreading that the king, the ultimate king, is God, is being conspiracy against the king of the land, and ultimately today is the day of the liberation, which is not a liberation which these great sages didn't take it as a liberation of their physical selves, but they took on that as a real liberation of the learning of the teachings that they wanted to bring to the world, and. Which the Alter Rebbe, the one who wrote the Tanya, which we are learning today, and his son, the Mittel Rebbe, came to the world. They felt their service to the world was the spreading of Chassidus, the setting of the teachings of Chassidus, of Torah, and godliness in the world, which was challenged not only by the Jewish world, but challenged by the non-Jewish world. And ultimately, that's why today is considered a yontiv by Chassidim, by Chabad. It's a day of holiday. Because it's a day that we can study Chassidus, that we can learn these teachings, and we can be inspired by these teachings. These teachings of Chassidus is all part of Torah. You know, Kabbalah, when you have the word Kabbalah, Kabbalah means to receive. That means that's something that was received. And we don't, Kabbalah is nothing new from the time that Moshe Rabbeinu and Moses gave the Torah on Mount Sinai. So it was just revealed as any teachings are revealed as history goes on. We learn more, we learn deeper stuff, we reveal concepts, and ultimately this teaching was revealed in the 1700s by the Alter Rebbe, the Tanya, and by the generations that followed until today. We're introduced in this chapter to a phenomenal concept, which only on one page of this chapter, many books of Chassidus have been written. In the aspect of the line, the first two lines of that chapter, of this chapter itself. You know, you have the patriarchs. The patriarchs was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And each one of them had their service. Also, each one of them had their journey in the service of God and what they brought to the world. In the revelation of godliness to the world, in the connection of their own character that they brought to the world. Avram Avinu was chesed, Chassidus, Kabbalah says in general, Avram was kindness, Yitzchak was gevurah, was severity, and Yaakov Avinu was tiferet, was his beauty. There's another expression that each one of them called the concept of their journey in a different way. Avram Avinu called his journey, he called the concept that it was a har, it was a mountain. His journey was a struggle. That's why you look in the ethics of our fathers. The Talmud expresses that Avram Avinu had challenges. Sodom Nisyonis, Avram Avinu had challenges. His journey was challenged. He was called the Ivri. He was called the other sider. His life was full of challenges, and he overcame his challenges. Yitzchak called the concept of Sada. He was a different aspect. He was a digger of wells, which expresses the concept of the inner aspect of his journey was to go deep into something, to dig a well, to go within something, gevurah, severity. Yaakov, you see, Yaakov was a concept of a bias. He called the aspect of his journey a house, to make a home, to make it a home. And that's why Jacob was the one who brought about, he was called the Bukiet in the Talmud, he was called the Bukiet Shebayavis, he was called the most choosiest of all the patriarchs. He brought about, he elevated both of his father and his grandfather, because he made Yiddishkeit a home. He made Judaism into a concept of a family, which started off, that's why the first family, the Jewish people, was Jacob and his 12 tribes. And they brought about the concept of Judaism, bringing it to a bias, to a home. Why do I tell you this? Because that's the expression in these 3 words, in these 3 lines, the first 3 lines in Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, when it wants to tell you the tachlis, the purpose of creation, which is a very powerful statement. It's a statement of it's a medrash. The Kabbalah accentuates this medrash. The medrash says tachlis, the purpose. Everybody looking for the purpose of creation. We're all looking for the purpose of creation. Millions and billions of dollars has been spent on the purpose of creation. When the medrash says it very simple, you don't have to spend much money on this medrash. It's a very simple medrash. The medrash says the purpose of creation of this world, the whole purpose of creation, was for one thing. Was that the Holy One, blessed be He, desired an abode, which is a home, dira. It's just a different word. It's an Aramaic word, dira. And the Hebrew word for dira is bias. Same word. Dira is just Aramaic. Dira betachtainim. God wanted a home, a dira, a home. Betachtainim, in this lower world. Now, you have the 3 most, every word is important here, but you have the word nisave. Everybody, and the truth is it's reflected in humanity, everybody wants a home. You just heard, if you were in shul, this week, last week in the Parsha, Yaakov Avinu says, if you give me clothes, if you give me food, B'shafti b'shalom el beis avi, and you'll bring me back home. You'll bring me back home. That's all I need. I need a home. I need food. I need clothing. I need a home. The Gemara, the Talmud expresses of Mi she'en lebayis eina adam, person that doesn't have a home, he's homeless. Doesn't have a roof over his head. Doesn't have a home. Eina adam, something's missing in his humanity, in his humanity. You need a home. We all need a home. We need a roof over our heads and walls around us. We need a home. Not only do we need a home, that we have a physical home, we need to be home. A person needs to close the door behind his home and feel that it's his home. Feels comfortable in his home. It's very important. It's very important to our own DNA, own essence, that we have a home. So in essence, the medrash is giving us 3 things over here. Number 1 is nisava. There's an aspect of a taiva. A human being also has that taiva. A human being also has that desire, that want to have a home. To have a home. He might journey from place to place, but he needs a home. That's the difference between Abraham and Jacob. Jacob was the first one who built a home. Abraham was a Bedouin. He went from tent to tent. He was busy traveling. He had no time to build himself a house. Jacob built himself a home. Aslei Bayis. The Torah expressed itself many times, that Jacob made a home. It's important to have a home. And God wanted a home. He wanted to feel, in a home, there's many concepts in a home. A home means I come within a home. A home means I feel comfortable in this home. The Rebbe wanted that this should be called a Beis Chabad. It's not a synagogue. It's called a Beis Chabad. The home. It's a home of knowledge. It's a home. Why would it call that? I believe because you should feel at home. Shouldn't be a place where you just come and it's an alien to you. You're uncomfortable with the situation. No, come at home. You should feel comfortable in your learning. You should feel comfortable with other people. That's a home. There's many beautiful things in a home, an aspect of a bayis, a dira. And tachtainim. And the last word is a tachtainim. Tachtainim is in the lower abodes. Tachtainim. Tachtin is the lower. Not in the higher worlds. In essence, over here, the Medrash says not that God wanted a dwelling in the higher worlds, he wanted a dwelling here in the lower worlds. The lowest world. Why would God want a dwelling in a lowest world? Why wouldn't he want a dwelling in a spiritual place, more a spiritual concept? Why would he want to have the concept of dwelling specifically in a lower abode? And that alone is a very deep concept. And the truth is, it's not only as to just give us a beautiful statement or beautiful words, but it's really in our own life. Where do we feel more accomplished? Where do we feel more comfortable? Where do we feel more as ourselves in this world? In the esoteric or in the practical, in the reality of life? A lot of us like to run away from reality. We like we take Judaism as a crutch too. We like to run away from the world because we're uncomfortable. This is our abode, and we think we'll be comfortable someplace else. That's why a lot of religions and even Judaism is, where we're going to go. We're heading someplace, right? So we'll have a miserable life because, oh no, we're heading someplace better. Every funeral they say, he's in a better place. I don't know, how do you know that? How do you know he's in a better place? I don't know. We've decided he's in a better place. Maybe he's in a worse place. How do you know? Maybe. Nobody knows nothing. They just like to say these statements. Makes everybody feel good. He's in a better place. Okay, now we're happy.
No one ever came back.
Nobody came back and said it's a good place or a bad place. Nobody came back and said anything.
They never came back. Do they like it?
Maybe they can't get out. That's the problem. Not that they like it. They have no choice. You know what I mean? So,
someone dies, it's the result of prolonged illness and suffering and pain. And so when they say he's in a better place, he's not
no longer
suffering and in pain anymore.
how do you know?
How do you know?
Well, I'm just
How do you know? You made up that statement. How do you know? How do you know? Okay, I wish he's in a better place.
because the
I hope he's in a
pain
better
is
place.
the physical body, and we're separated from our body. So the pain and discomfort is more often
Pain and discomfort is not in the body. Even pain and discomfort is not in the body. It's in your head. So it's not in your body. When you are in pain in one place, doesn't mean you're in pain, not in pain. That's even any doctor will tell you. I'm not a doctor, but if you're in pain in one place, doesn't mean that you're not in pain in any other place. It's just because that place is more painful and it takes away the pain from other places. Doesn't mean that you're not in pain in another place. You could be in pain in many places, but you're only feeling the pain of one pain. Because it's all in the brain. So pain is not in the physical. The proof is when a person dies, you can do whatever you want to his body. He's not in pain anymore. Because why? His neshama left him. So your neshama is in pain. You're just feeling it through the body, but the neshama is in pain. You can put the body to sleep. And now the body doesn't feel pain. You take some morphine, take drugs, and you won't have any pain. That doesn't mean you're not in pain. You just don't feel the pain. So, how do we get to that? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Better place. Right. All right. So, Lav Dafka, Lav Dafka is a better place. The best place is right here. And that's the best place. B'tachtonim. If God felt that there's no better place than right here, then there is no better place than right here. There's no better place. So this is the place. And that's what the Medrash wanted to tell you. There's no better place. No better place. There's another place. And that's another place. So we went to another place. The Mishnah, you have the two expressions. See, the Mishnah, you look in the Torah, you see what's a better place. We don't really know. The Mishnah says double thing. The Mishnah, you look in Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Father, it says two things. It says it's better one act of kindness in this world than 1,000 years in Gan Eden. And then it says it's better one in true joy in Gan Eden than 1,000 years in this world. So, what is better? I'm mixed up, basically. It means that both are good.
Is there a world where the Dolphins win every game?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. That's Gan Eden, right? So if that's Gan Eden, you'll have that Gan Eden in Mitzvah Hashem. You'll Mitzvah Hashem be in a place where the Dolphins win every single game. But here, B'tachtonim, in the low world, with the concept of the famous Maimed discourse of the Frierdiker Rebbe, we said, Basar Legani, to come to my garden, the garden of God. God says, what is Gani, which means my garden, which also means Genuni, my personal chamber, my inner chamber is this world. And this world is a true chamber of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The true essence of God is revealed in this world. Now, that's like in a way, a shocking statement. So therefore, this Tanya introduced us to another extremely deep concept. I'm going to try to simplify it. Kabbalah for dummies, whatever. Try to simplify it in the best way I can. Because it's a very deep concept, and it's hard for me even to simplify it. So you have, in Kabbalah, you have the concept of, it's called Seder Shtalshlus. Seder, the order of the chain. Shtalshlus comes from the word a chain movement, a chain reaction. Yeah, that's the right word, a chain reaction. So a chain, you have a chain. Chain has a loop, right? This is the way a chain is made, right? One loop into another loop, right? Like that, a chain. So you have a chain. One loop is connected to another loop, and slowly the chain comes down. One is interconnected. The upper loop is actually, in a chain, the upper loop is actually underneath the bottom, the one that it's chained to, right? It goes actually underneath it, goes within it. So, and then, so to say, the next loop becomes the connection to the next loop until it goes from one level until you have a chain that can be 1,000 miles, whatever. So you have this chain connection. The one comes down. To be able that there should be a bottom chain needs to be interlooped into the upper, into the upper, into the upper, into the upper, into the upper. And that's in Kabbalah, that's called Seder Shtalshlus, the way the Eibishter, God, spirituality, comes down from a very extreme high place to a very extreme low place, is called Seder Shtalshlus, the Seder, the order of this chain, this descent movement from above to below. Yesterday, you had the concept of a sulam, mutzav arza. You had the expression in the Torah. It says that Jacob had a dream and he saw a ladder which was sitting on the ground and reaching up to heaven. Malach Elokim oilim v'yordim bo. And the angels of God were going up and down. So you have this same concept, a different kind of concept of chain. You have a ladder which has steps. I don't know what you call it, right? Rungs. And one is, but a chain is more better to this aspect because they're each separate. The ladder is really one concept. The chain is each loop has its own entity, and but they interconnect into the next level, and that's the way you go. You connect. So in essence, if you take the shtalshlus, this aspect, each chain has within it 10 concepts. Chochmah, starting from wisdom, to malchus, the aspect of kingship, and malchus, kingship, becomes the wisdom of the next chain, and so it goes on and on and on. And there are many levels, there are many steps to this, there are many loops and to this chain. But ultimately, the beauty of the concept of this chain is that when you pull the bottom of the chain, the top of the chain moves. Right? It doesn't make difference how long the chain is, and it doesn't make difference if you're on the bottom of the chain. you're the bottom of the food chain. It doesn't make a difference. If you pull the chain, the upper of the chain moves. It automatically moves because they're all interconnected. They're all interconnected. And then you have L'mayla Miseda, above the concept of above this level. Because this chain interconnection, one is interconnected to the other. So one is interconnected to the other, automatically limits it brings it into a concept of a dimension. So we're taking spirituality and we're creating a dimension to it. Which in Kabbalah, I'm going to teach you some Kabbalistic words. In Kabbalah, that's called Mamalik Kalam, the way the God comes with spirituality comes into a time and space. So every chain, every loop has its space, has its box, so to say, and its level. And this level just comes down to another level, another level, another level, and another level, till the level has been diminished and diminished and diminished, till the bottom level might not even realize that it's interconnected to anything higher. Because it's come down, has been watered down, so to say, from one level to another level, to be able to the lowest level that anybody should be able to understand it. So let's give you a simple example. Take the Torah that we read yesterday in Shul, or that we learn every day. The Torah can be understood by a 5-year-old child. Anybody can understand the Torah. And there are some great, and we all know there are great commentators that continue to argue on the Torah. So a 5-year-old understands the Torah in its very lowest chain, and the chain goes up, and it continues to journey, and it's unlimited, because as you go from level to level, so really you look in I'll give you another expression. It says in Pirkei Avos, in Ethics of Our Father, it says, when you're 5-year-old, you got to learn Chumash. That's the first level. When you're 10 years old, you got to learn Mishnah. When you're 15 years old, you got to start learning Gemara. You got to move up. You can't stay in first grade always. You got to go to second grade. You got to go to third grade. You got to go to fourth grade. You got to move up the chain. You got to become smarter. A year elder, a year older, a year smarter. What happens if a person comes a year smarter? He becomes a year more refined and better. You got to move up the chain. You cannot stop, just get stuck in one place. And you have to slowly move up the chain. But you can't jump the chain. It's difficult to jump the chain, because you can't jump it. You might get burnt, right? If you go above yourself too quickly, you don't work it on a chain value, you don't work on a step-by-step value, you might get hurt, right? You might overexert your intellectual powers of capability of comprehension. So therefore, you might overburn the circuits.
And what about Navarras? Do they break that chain?
Yeah, so 100%. Nothing ever breaks the chain totally.
Right.
It's not possible to break the chain. The chain is is ultimately spiritual. How can you break spirituality? So you cannot break the chain.
Our individual connectedness through our neshama to God,
Yeah.
and that's why it said that even the smallest action we make
Correct?
affects God.
100%. Because the chain is connected. It's interconnected. We're interconnected to each other in a chain. The Alter Rebbe starts to begin with Tanya, the neshama. The neshama has also come down in this concept. So the question is, what level of your neshama is revealed in your physical body? On what level of this chain, so to say, that you have? So it doesn't make a difference. Ultimately, if you don't have, even a Jew has a pintel, it's called a pintel yid, a spark of a soul, still he's part of that chain. And therefore, you cannot take it away from him or her. He's always interconnected in this chain reaction. But, yes?
But if you learn a little bit, like on a linear, it's like Fumash, this, and slowly
Yeah.
this way, instead of just Fumash and then doing this and then something else. But if it's...
No, you have to learn that. Self-understood, ben chamish lemikra, In the look at the Mishnah, I said a Mishnah. It's not but the way you should learn is start learning 4 years old, 5 years old. When you start to learn at 20 or 30, you got to do it a little different. But really, a child should learn 5 years old Chumash. That's what he should start teaching him. Teaching her, teaching them Chumash, basic Chumash, ben Chumash lemikra. Teach him Chumash. Then teach him Mishnah, which is you have the written law, the oral law. And that's how I learned in yeshiva. It's exactly, I followed that chain of events. So you started for Chumash, and then you went to Mishnah, and then you went to Gemara, and then you went to Halacha, and you just continued on, on the journey of learning. As I said, once in yeshiva, there was no graduation. There's no graduation. There's no graduation for Torah learning. There's never a graduate. How can you graduate? It's never ending. So you graduate, what? No graduation. You can graduate from the secular studies. You got a diploma. But there's no graduation from Torah learning. It's never ending. It's never finished. It's never finished. So it began when you went to Cheder, when you were 5 years old, and you started learning Chumash, and it continues to go on. When you're till as long as you're alive, you continue, the learning never ends. That's the concept. That's the greatness of learning. That's why Talmud. That's what you say in your prayers every day. Talmud Torah keneged kulam. The learning of Torah is above and beyond everything, because it's never ending. And that's the beauty of learning. Most of us don't like that. Like to come to, give me a subject, I want to finish it, and that's it. That's not the aspect of wisdom. Wisdom is that it never ends. It continues. That's why the Alter Rebbe in the beginning of Tanya says, Chachma is wisdom, means koyachma, what is it? So really, what is wisdom? What is it? I need to continue to learn. I need to continue to learn. That's why it says those expressions. The person that says, I have wisdom, really doesn't know what wisdom is. He might have understanding, he might have knowledge, but wisdom means that I have something that will always want to know more. So I will always want to get smarter. It's one of the things you should be jealous of, right? It says jealousy is a terrible thing, but you should be jealous of somebody else's wisdom. You should always want to know more. Never be satisfied with what you know. What do I know? I should always want to acquire more.
The nature of man is to be inquisitive. That's why we want to understand space, we want to understand science, we want to understand the atom.
Beautiful.
Because we're never happy with the level of knowledge we have. And each level of knowledge allows us to learn the next level of knowledge.
Correct. But then, the Torah was not happy with that. God was not happy with that only. And that's why he gave a mitzvah. Because a mitzvah brings God into the box. We can get lost in knowledge and totally forget about the purpose of knowledge. And the purpose of knowledge and the purpose of all the spirituality is all for this physical tachten, is all for this lowest rung, this lowest entity. Actually, this lowest rung is not even part of the rung. Tachtonim is past the rung because it's totally disconnected from the physical, it's from the spiritual. It becomes physical. It has become something physical. The physical has no connection per se to the spiritual. They're almost like opposites. Because the spiritual is unending and the physical is very ending. The spiritual continues to grow and the physical is very, very confined to a time and space. So the spiritual really cannot really create this physical. There's really no, say the shtalshlus, there's really no shtalshlus from the spiritual to the physical. There's a shtalshlus, there's a chain creating reaction from the spiritual to the higher spiritual to the higher spiritual. But how do you get to a physical? How do we how do we go from the spiritual, even the lowest rung of this spiritual reality, how do we come to a physical, which is totally the opposite of this spiritual concept? And the answer is God. Only God can connect the spiritual and the physical. Nobody else, nothing else can connect the spiritual. If you understand what is spiritual and what is physical, you'll understand that only God can connect the spiritual and the physical. And that's why only in the physical do you find God. Real God. I mean, the essence of God. I wouldn't say only you find God in the Torah, but only in the physical do you find what in Chassidus calls atzmus. You find the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only in the physical, not in the spiritual. Because the spiritual, all your intellect is there for one aspect, that you should do the physical. And if you don't, then you are missing the essence. You might have got the spirituality, you might have got all the wonderful chain of it, but you have not received the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the will of God, the essence of God, is only after you can do it in a physical way.
So that's why there's mitzvahs.
And that's why there's mitzvahs. So that's why the Torah in Chassidus is called, in Kabbalah, is called the will, the wisdom of God. And a mitzvah is called Ratzon HaKadosh, the will of God. The Sava HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God had a desire, had a will. Dira b'tachtonim, in this physical. Because he's the only one who can connect that spiritual with that physical. So that's why, my friends, you can be very spiritual, but you cannot come up with a mitzvah. You can't come up and say, okay, you know what? I have a good mitzvah. I'm going to come up with a new mitzvah. 613 was great for the last 2,000 years. I'm going to come up with another mitzvah. Or you know what? I'm going to take the mitzvah and I'm going to change it. I'm going to come up with a better way of bringing God into the world. You can't. You cannot do it. It's not possible. Because you can only, you can only develop the world. Everything is like even in the world itself. You can only develop, reveal, make better, and that's why we're here for the world. But to be able to connect the spiritual with the physical is only God. And that's why you can. That's why the verse says, "Le'seiseh v'le'sirgra." You're not allowed to add to a mitzvah, and you're not allowed to take away a mitzvah. Cannot be added, cannot be subtracted, because only God can add or subtract. If you understand what the meaning of a mitzvah is. If you don't understand, then you can add and subtract. But if you don't, if you understand what is the concept of these aspects of spirituality, of wisdom, and the aspect of a mitzvah, you will understand that they cannot be added, they cannot be subtracted, because only God can tell you that by putting on tefillin, you are going to bring me into the physical world. Only God can come up with that. I put you all to sleep.
You just can't argue.
I have a question. You're saying the physical and you're saying the spiritual. But as created beings that he made, he endowed us because he gave us the neshama, which is the spiritual. And the body holds that. And that is where the desire, or that is where that learning promotes. It's not our physical, but it's coming from our soul that then makes us act. So in essence, we're walking that both the spiritual and the physical, the disconnect is when we don't tap in to the soul.
Okay, I agree with you. Yeah, you're saying exactly in a different way what I just said. You say every day in the morning, Moidani lefanecha shazarta bi nishmasi. That's the same concept what I just said. Only God can put a neshama in a physical body. It doesn't go. In a normal, natural way, you cannot have a soul in a body. Only God. That's one of the miracles of God, that He put a soul, godly soul especially, in a physical body, and then wants it to work together. Two opposites coming to work together, and both of them realizing that one cannot really accomplish what their purpose is without each other. The soul realizing that it cannot accomplish its physical purpose without the physical body, and the body realizing that it cannot fulfill its purpose without the soul. And then you have the intellect in between, the human intellect in between, that creates the havoc, creates the challenge. It creates this challenge of the physical and the spiritual. But we have to realize these two concepts in essence. We have to realize which the concept of Seder, as Alter Rebbe says over here, we have to realize the aspect of the meaning of Seder Shtalshlus, the concept of the descent of the spiritual to come down into the physical, and at the same moment realize the leap, the essence of God that comes into the physical. And that's why the first statement in this chapter is that the purpose of creation is the unity of the physical and the spiritual, but it's self-understood comes about through the concept of this Seder Shtalshlus, which gives us the capability, the comprehension of this aspect. But we should always realize that the most important purpose of the learning and this whole spiritual journey is all for the physical mitzvah, to put on that tefillin, to eat that kosher, whatever it takes. So again, there's no better place than right here, as long as you do the mitzvah. You're right. If we don't do the mitzvah, then the heavens is much better for everybody. There's no better place for a Jew doing one mitzvah today than all his 1,000 years in Gan Eden.
So the intellect causes havoc in the world?
Yeah, because we think we're smarter than God.
We question.
That's where we got our free choice. So we think we're smarter than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God says A, and we say, okay, that's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion. Right? You're not taking away my opinion. That's my free choice. So I'm entitled to my opinion. Thank you, but no thank you. Maybe different ways we say it, but basically. You got it what I just said? I I tried to make it as simple as possible, but maybe now we'll read it inside. As I said, say the shtalshes, what I just said, the Alter Rebbe is going to do so now. It's a fascinating concept in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, and there's many Maimorim and discourses and many books written on this concept to try to explain it. I tried to explain it to the best of my ability. I'm not the most greatest Kabbalist out there. So let's see if we can learn it inside. And I'll try to, okay, so I think even though we started last week, let's start it again. Because I think it's this chapter, the beginning of this chapter, this whole chapter is a very important chapter to the whole Tanya and to the whole Chassidus to get this really down. It's a well-known rabbinical statement that the purpose of creation of this world is the only one blessed has to be he desired to have an abode in the lower worlds. You know, it's important. I hope that you know, and I want you to speak if you know, because when you say that God wanted to have a lower abode in this world, that's where it comes to struggle, right? We can like even in a relationship we can have dating, but when you bring them home, that's when the problem starts. So when you close the door, right? So right, so a lot of couples you meet them and they're all happy out there, whatever they're doing, and then they come home and they're killing each other. So everything is in the home. So truth is when you didn't come together. If you go to yeshiva, they're arguing with each other. It's not a quiet situation. You go to yeshiva, it's not a quiet situation. It's not one person speaking and everybody is sitting and listening. Because then you shouldn't feel uncomfortable, say something. Then you're not home, right? You're not screaming at your husband outside, hopefully. You're screaming at him in the home. We locked the door. Problem is that the Chinese walls, so everybody can hear you screaming. But you need to express yourself. When you learn Chassidus, especially these stuff, you need to express yourself. Hopefully you don't feel uncomfortable to contradict me or ask the question or try to say yay or nay or whatever your feeling might be. But surely with him the distinction of the upper and the lower is no validity. Self is a God. To God, there's no concept of upper and lower. So it's irrelevant to him, this whole concept. It's all relevant is to us. The whole concept of Seder Shtalshlus and the aspect of upper worlds and lower worlds is distinction to us, the human beings that are in this concept of upper and lower. Upper and lower is a world concept. It's not a godly concept. It's a world, human concept. It's important to us, upper and lower. It's important to us. As you say, you're not born. You see how God even created a human being. He's born, he cannot do anything. It's a development. Life is a development. You know? We're human in the making. We're constantly growing, hopefully. We're never, even as human beings, we're constantly getting better. Right? Becoming more mature. And becoming more civilized. And the world is changing in that way. And hopefully within ourselves. So there is a concept of before and after. There is a concept of first grade, second grade, third grade, college, high school, whatever. We're getting smarter. So that's only to humans because that's very important to us. God created time and space, and it's important to us that everything has its time and everything has its place. And even in the mitzvah, you cannot do everything. Today is not Shabbos. You cannot decide, you know what, I'm going to make Shabbos on Sunday. The world Taka did that. Hey, we'll make Shabbos Sunday. A Jew cannot do that. Shabbos is Shabbos, and the story. It doesn't fit in your schedule, it's your problem. Change your schedule. God's not going to change your schedule for you. You have to change your schedule to God. That's it. Finished. That's the way it goes. But because Shabbos is going to come. That's why the biggest mitzvah is Shabbos. Because Shabbos is coming whether you like it or not. You can kvetch, you can complain, it's coming. And finished. It's going to be here. You might be happy, you might not be happy. Nothing's going to change. Friday night's going to come and finished. It's here. You ready or not ready? Right? So you can't say, I'm going to do it on Sunday. Oh, I'm not ready this week. I'm pushing it off. We're doing it Sunday. No, it does not work.
Didn't a certain segment of Jews try to do that when they first came to this country, make a day of rest on Sunday, and for some reason, yeah, German, and it was.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Failed.
It failed. It's gonna fail because Yiddish guy, because the Torah says Shabbos is Shabbos. So finished. So there's a time. There's a time also daytime. We daven Shachas in the daytime. We daven Mincha in the afternoon. We daven Ma'ariv. Pesach is Pesach, and Sukkot is Sukkot, and Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah, whatever. Everything has its time. And everything has its place. And you cannot mix between the one and the other. It's very important. The Rebbe, the beautiful gem, the Rebbe, we're Meilul Levana. We connected to the moon. The Jews are connected to the moon. Moon has its, what's the beauty of the moon? Less than megamor klum. The beauty of the moon is, the moon has nothing. The moon receives everything from the sun. That's why the Jewish people are connected to the moon. Even though we have the sun, our holidays go according to the sun, but in general, we're connected to the moon. Because what is the concept of the moon? The moon realizes, even though it shines and it gives an important light to the world, but it has no light. Its light is from the sun. Our light is from God. That's it. Doesn't come from no place else. So even though it might shine and it might be unbelievable, but it still comes from the sun. You really don't have any light. Right? The sun can think itself as a light. It has its own light. The moon knows it doesn't have a light. Therefore, the moon waxes and wanes, and sometimes the taka doesn't seemingly, the light is gone. So we go to the moon. We go count our schedule to the moon. So, because we have upper and lower. That's the way it goes. We have good days and we have bad days. We have good times, we have bad times, but we never stop. Why? Because we realize our essence, our light, comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, comes from the sun, comes from God. So this is the explanation of the matter, however, is as follows. Ready? Let's try to get this in. Before the world was created, he was one and alone, one and unique, ruling all over space, which he created the universe. So God, what was before the world? What was before the world? What was before the world and what was after the world? So to God, there's no difference between the before creation and after creation. Right? To God, there was no difference. The creation does not make a difference to him. The second you say creation makes a difference to him, then you're putting God again into a created aspect. Yep.
But if he gives him a home, a dwelling place, so someone with a home and a homeless person.
He gives us the capability of making him a home. Doesn't give him nothing. He gives us the capability of making him a home. That's the partnership. We have the partnership that we can create a home. Create this concept. God doesn't need it. It's our zchus, our merit to be able to do this. But did God need it? He doesn't say God needed it. It's a sava. He had a desire. He didn't say God needed it. We need it. He desired it. That's why he said the word desire. Desire is not a need. God desired it.
How do you know that?
Because it says that in the Mishnah. I cannot. How do I know that? I'm repeating a statement of a Mishnah.
How did they come to?
Give them a call. 555-1212. Call them a call. 555-1212.
The Mishnah is commentary on the 5 books of Moses, so somewhere they found something that alludes to that.
Bereshis bara lekim es hashamayim v'saaretz. God created the world.
So it's somewhere, yeah.
God created the world. He did it. The Mishnah is just telling you, why did he do it? What was the purpose? The taiva. He had a taiva and did it b'tarteinu. Why did he create the world for? God created the world. What was the purpose in creation? So the Mishnah tells us this taiva. Sava Kadosh Baruch Hu did b'tarteinu. The Eibishter, God had a taiva in this world. Kabbalah says so.
Somewhere from the oral Torah also. The Mishnah is like, reflects the oral Torah.
It says the expression, Vayem Hashem, Vayar Hashem ki tov. That says in the Torah. So that's God says. Vayar Hashem ki tov. God saw it was good. So that's not a Mishnah. That's a pasuk. God says, I've chosen Abraham. Why? Because he's bringing godliness to the world. Avram Oyavi. God says, I called Abraham. Abraham is I love Abraham. Because he's fulfilling my desire in creation of the world. So you can find in the Torah itself that is. And then for surely after Matan Torah, you have many expressions in that. Ein oid milvadai. You have that expression in Deuteronomy. Ein oid milvadai, meaning that this whole purpose of world and creation, the Torah, is just to bring God to the world. Any way you want to do it. I don't think it makes a difference. Whether you bring God to the world to God, it's the same thing. It's to make a place for God in this world. Revelation of God in this world. You have an expression that Abraham made the world call in the name of God. It's another kind of expression. You have many different kinds of expressions in this concept. So you don't have to go far. The Medrash just gives you an analogy. But this concept that God, the purpose of creation, is to bring God to the world, I can find you hundreds of psukim in the Torah that expresses that in different ways.
We talk about which came first, the chicken or the egg. Neither came first. God came first.
Right. Which is it came first, and it came second, came third. No, there's no difference with God. There's no difference by God, the physical or the spiritual. It's all the same purpose. When you say there's no difference by God, the upper and the lower, is the same thing like saying there's no difference by God, the physical or the spiritual.
Upper and lower.
They're both
really
the
not
purpose.
Upper and lower in the sense of physicality. We think of it as physicality, and we look up, but it's really not up.
Right.
It's really not down.
Correct.
It's around.
It's around.
It's not around. It's right. It's in. It's the same thing. No, Chassidus says it's the same thing. It's not around.
Same thing. It's just
But in essence, I'm saying that to God, there's no difference between the physical and the spiritual. They're both a creation. To God, there's no difference between the physical and the spiritual. Because to God, there's the concept of what the purpose in them. So if you look at the purpose in them, then there's no difference. I cannot live without the spiritual, and I cannot live without the physical. So in the concept of purpose, then we need both. Equally, we need both. Actually, in one level, you need the spiritual. In another hand, you need this physical. The physical comes more the purpose. So as I gave you in the beginning of the class, the concept of learning, you need the spiritual. In the concept of the action, you need the physical. And if you don't have the physical, you cannot do the mitzvah. If you don't have a pair of tefillin, you cannot do the mitzvah. End the story. If you don't, and that's why there's many mitzvahs you cannot do. So you can have the spiritual concept of the mitzvah today. You cannot do the mitzvah. You don't have a Beis HaMikdash. You cannot do the mitzvah. And that's it. You cannot do it physically.
How do you learn about those mitzvahs and study intricately about the laws of those mitzvahs, even though we can't do them?
Sure, you should learn, because the spiritual is still there. The spiritual concept of the mitzvah has not changed. And it's important to know the spiritual concept. It says that if you lose the spiritual aspect of the mitzvah, it's as if you did the physical. But did you really do the physical? No. So you need to do the physical. Why the Jews pray for the building of the Beis HaMikdash? Because we want to do the physical mitzvah. It's wonderful to do the spiritual part of the mitzvah, but we want to do the physical mitzvah. And it's not a Beis HaMikdash. For 2,000 years, we can't do the mitzvah. And that's a terrible thing. That's not just, okay, we can live without. We can't. We want to do the physical mitzvah. Because as a Jew, we realize that we need the physical mitzvah. We need to bring the God into the physical. And we cannot do it. We should be crying that we cannot do this physical mitzvah.
What about a child who's born and is totally disabled, can't do anything?
Again, so he's not obligated. But it's still that we should.
Here,
But he cannot do it. He's not obligated. Like there's no Beis HaMikdash. What should we do? We cannot do it. This child cannot do it. That's it. So he doesn't have to do it. But still, isn't it the child's neshama want to do that physical? 100%. And Mitzshem, Mashiach's going to come. That's like the Beis HaMikdash is going to come back. This child Mitzshem will do it also. But is he obligated to do the mitzvah? No. Are we obligated to do the mitzvah? No. But we shouldn't say, okay, you know what? We're not obligated, so fine. Right? Baruch Hashem. In the way some people say, so Baruch Hashem, we don't have all 630 mitzvahs. You have less.
yeah.
You know? Chas v'shalom. We should realize that no, this is a sad situation. That's why in the happiest time we break a glass. Why? We break the glass to say we have a lot of mitzvahs we cannot do. We can comprehend it, we can imagine it, we can be spiritual about it, but we cannot do the physical mitzvah. We cannot do it's physical. And that's, in a way, a loss to us. And we should not underestimate the greatness of this physical mitzvah and the greatness of doing it in a very physical way. So we need to have both elements, in essence. Because again, first of all, to God, there's no difference between the physical and the spiritual. They're both the concept of the purpose. And they're both equally, if you understand God, they're both equally, to God, both equally in purpose, important. That's why it says in the Ethics of Life, never judge, never evaluate mitzvahs. We as human beings love to evaluate everything. This is important, that's not important. This I'm going to do, that I'm not going to do. How can you do that? You can do that what's of value to you. You're doing a mitzvah what's valued to God. You're not doing a mitzvah what's valued. I'm not doing a mitzvah because it's valued only to me. If I only do a mitzvah valued to me, I'll come up with my own mitzvahs. I'm doing a mitzvah because it's a value to God. If that I'm doing a mitzvah because it's a value to God, then I cannot evaluate a mitzvah. I cannot say this mitzvah is more important than that one. Or that Aveda is worse than the other one. It's not right. You're not intellectual. You're responding emotionally. You're not intellectualizing this concept. You need to intellectualize this concept. You have to understand God. That's what Chassidus demands a Jew to understand God. Because if he understood God, he would understand the Torah. The problem is you don't understand God, then we struggle with the Torah. So everybody would say, well, why should you tell me what to do? Anybody would come and tell me, gives me laws. Who are you? Did I vote for you? Did I elect you? Did I ask you? Did I bother you? What are you coming to me, giving me all these rules and regulations? I didn't bother you, don't bother me. Right? I mean, good, right? What have you done for me lately? Right? So we don't understand God. We don't understand God. And since we don't understand God, we struggle with everything else. We struggle automatically with everything else. We struggle with the will, we struggle with mitzvahs, we struggle with each other. We struggle with ourselves. Why? Because we don't comprehend this concept. And we need to comprehend this concept. And that's why Chochmah is the first thing in our chain, in our own chain. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge. It doesn't come after emotions, it becomes before the emotions. Because we need to comprehend. We need to learn. Then we can make an emotional choice. And it'll be a true choice to each one. Every person should learn and come to their own understanding, but they should learn. And they should come to their own level. Trust me, if you learn Chassidus and you'll take 10 guys, they're all going to tell you something else. Because I'm using my brain. I'm not using your brain. We're using every person uses their own brain. And that's the beauty, as long as you're working for the truth, not for something else. But if you're working for the truth and you're trying to comprehend something, you're trying to learn something, then you'll come to some concept of knowledge. You'll come to some aspect and wisdom of this concept. It's important to this. It's important to know God. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. V'yadata Hashem, you shall know God. Each person, according to that, can be able to know God. What is the meaning of God? Not what the world teaches you what God is, what somebody else taught you what God is. What does the Torah say what God is? And the Torah is God's expression. So therefore, that's the best place to find what is the concept of God. What?
One.
What?
One.
One. Okay. Beautiful. One. I have no problem with that. I have no problem. Chassidus, you have atzmus, essence. There's a lot of expressions. I found over here, the kind of expression. Yesh amiti, true. Yesh amiti, the true, I say yesh, true being. The Rambam said, Mechuyev HaMetzias. The Mechuyev HaMetzias, the first being, the first, right? Am I using the right words? That there is because there's God. He's the force of is, that there is a concept. The source of everything. The source. The Rambam says, if you understand creation and creator, first being, Matzu Yirishin, first being.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to this, okay, we've got spiritual, we have physical, then there's that intelligence which we need to bring in this comprehension, but at the time, we also have this intelligence which is infused with ego. How do we tame this so that this intelligence brings us to the full realization of the Creator? In other words, because we have free will, and this will is the intelligence infused by ego, how do we tame the ego?
Very good question.
To get
$1 million
to this.
question.
It is, no, but there has to be a way, because otherwise, how do we grow?
So Chassidus says, if you really understand the meaning of wisdom, you're going to understand that it's the opposite of ego. Wisdom is humility. True wisdom is humility. Because wisdom says always, I can learn more.
I read a
Ego says, I know it. And wisdom says, real wisdom says, no, I do not know it. I have to have somebody else maybe to teach me. There's a higher knowledge. That's true wisdom. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, who was was the wisest man, was the humblest man. Because wisdom goes together in Torah with humility. When a person has ego, that's the opposite of wisdom. He's not a wise person that is an egotistical person. He's losing out on his wisdom. Ezu chacham har loimed mikol adam. The Mishnah, who is a wise man? Who can learn from everybody? Why cannot we learn from everybody? Because of our ego. So you're not a wise man if you cannot learn from everybody. You're the opposite of wisdom. So really, your answer is that we don't really, because we don't have real wisdom. We have corrupted wisdom. Our ego doesn't let us open our minds to wisdom. Our ego brings us to a class or brings us to wisdom and already has preconceived ideas. It already established, most times you go learn and you have already established what and what, where and how you're going to take this learning. Before you came into the building, it's already established what you're going to do with it or not do with it. And that's a sad way of learning. That's a sad way of learning. It might be learning, but it's a sad way of learning. Because a person should come to learning with bittul. He should come to learning with an open mind. Puts himself in levana. I said, to put yourself, this is not, even the wisdom that I have is not my own. Trust me. Everything that I have was given to me by somebody. Right? By my parents, by my teacher, by my friends. What do you think? I'm a self-made man? Everything that I have, all the wisdom that I have, was given to me by somebody. Even the good wisdom, and for surely the corrupted wisdom, is being given to me by somebody.
Rabbi, I found my way to this secular book before I found Chabad or anything, about like it was the science of creativity or something. And it said all new ideas come through people, and it used the word universe, from the universe. Yeah. And it said you have to open, this was a secular, I don't know where I found it, in a bookstore, that you have to open yourself to the universe. But what they're saying is God when they say universe.
Who created the universe?
Yeah, who created it?
But it's funny, they use these euphemisms.
Yes.
But it was the most secular book in the world, never mentioned anything to do with Hashem or anything. But isn't that true? Like and Alexander Graham Bell, whatever he thought of, it didn't come from him, it come through him.
Right. So we're a vessel. We're the
That's
Levana.
humility.
That's it. So you're Levana. You should shine. You should shine. But you should realize your shine comes from somebody or something else. That's it. God wants you to shine. Your parents want you to shine, but they gave you all these capabilities. Who gave it to you? What, you got it yourself? No, you got it from somebody. So you need to express that. You need to realize that. That takes humility. Truth is, that is the biggest struggle, because everybody wants to be a self-made man. And we all want to be self-made. I didn't get anything from anybody. I got everything from myself. And that's wonderful, but it's not totally true. It's not totally true. And it might be some truth. So you have to struggle, and you overcame your struggles, and that's your successes. But to say that everything comes from myself is egotistical, and it's the biggest challenge to wisdom. The biggest challenge to wisdom is your ego, because we don't let ourselves learn, we don't let ourselves change, we don't let ourselves develop because of our ego, and that's the biggest challenge to humanity. Yeah.
When he talks about the universe, as we understand it in a material way, we say about the light that we can see. Darkness is just darkness, and light is reflected light. It's from someplace else.
Correct. Very good. I like that. Earth and neshama. That's what we call the light of the neshama. So the light is a reflection, 100%. We're a reflection of God. Our soul's a reflection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, it shows not a, it's a reflection. It's a godly concept. It's a reflection. The beauty of Gashmias is that the Tachten is that it needs to be changed. The physical needs to be changed. The beauty of ourselves is the things that need to be changed. Our neshama is perfect. Our soul is there as pure as a day that was brought into my body. Because it reflects God and it cannot change. You cannot, not I can change it, not anybody can change it. What can I change? Is my midas, is my character, the way I think. And that's where the beauty is. The Gashmi, that's the Gashmi. That's the physical. That's where I have successes and I have failures. And that's where the beauty of humanity lies. Is in my personal successes and my personal failures. Isn't the Gashmi. My soul was perfect when it came into me. And it's perfect when it's going to leave me. The Eibishter is above, before creation, after creation, and nevertheless, what does he want? He wants the Tachten. He wants to where seemingly there's no connection, there's no self. It doesn't continue, so to say. There's no connection between the physical and the spiritual. And there, he wants that the human being should do that concept. Because only the human being, the physical, can do that concept. So that's why it says, in essence, when you go to a cemetery, you're a man, and you're wearing tzitzis, you put the tzitzis away. Why? Because all those souls, the tzitzis is an easy mitzvah. What's so hard to put on a pair of tzitzis? You're wearing a shirt, you can put on a pair of tzitzis. It's called in the Torah an easy mitzvah. The Gemara says it's an easy mitzvah. You cannot even butchka about it. It's an easy mitzvah. So you go to a cemetery, and all these souls cannot do this easy mitzvah. It's an agony to these souls that hang around the cemetery. They cannot do this easy mitzvah. And you could. So their souls, they're spiritual, they're godly, they're in a better place, but they cannot put on a pair of tzitzis.
But you said their souls are in the cemetery. Their souls aren't actually in the cemetery. Right.
I don't know. I'm not a soul. If I start seeing souls, take me to the psychiatrist fast. Okay, I don't know. I don't know where the souls are. Hopefully they're in heaven, but some souls takes time to go to heaven. Takes a journey. They're not there right away. That's why we say Kaddish 11 months, and we hope that the soul goes. And the truth is, the soul is always in the cemetery. Why would we go to the cemetery if the soul's not there? So there's a level of the soul that's always in the cemetery. I don't want to see it. Trust me, we'll be running out of that cemetery. But that's why we go to cemetery. If the soul's not the cemetery, why we're going to the ground? We're going to, no, because the soul's connected to the body always. There's a certain level of the soul that's always connected to the body. That's where you go visit in the cemetery. There will be no purpose if you believe that the soul leaves the body. What are you going there? The body goes back to the earth. What are you going to the cemetery for? You're going to the cemetery because the soul is connected to the body. The soul came down to the body on a certain level. The soul will be always connected to this body. And therefore, you go to the cemetery. In a yard site, the soul is revealed even bigger to the body. But there's always a soul. A tzaddik soul, you go always because the tzaddik soul is always connected to his body. Therefore, you go to the cemetery. If not, there's no reason going to the cemetery.
So why do you say when someone passes, you say may that person's neshama have another?
Yeah, right. You hope that he has an ascend.
Yeah.
You hope that he has an ascend. You don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
I want his neshama to have an ascend, a very quick ascend. I want neshama because it's a painful for the neshama. If the neshama does not go ascend to its rhythm, then it's a painful journey for the neshama. So we hope, we pray that the neshama has an ascend. Therefore, we say kaddish, we do mitzvahs for it, we do whatever we can so that the soul shall have a speedier ascent. Do I know when the neshama goes? I don't know. I really don't.
Well, you
Really
find
don't.
out. You
No,
find
I don't.
out.
I don't want to know. It's not my business. It's godly business. It's godly, but it's his business. Whenever he wants, he'll do it. It's not my.
Not your job.
You know, the truth is, we tzaddikim, we know surely go to Gan Eden right away, tzaddikim, but we still say kaddish for them 11 months to show unity between all Jews. Right? We say kaddish for every soul, whether he was a tzaddik, whether he was a rasha. Right? A tzaddik's neshama surely goes to Gan Eden right away. Well, he didn't do an aveda. But we still say kaddish for the neshama. And we do good things for the neshama. Why? Because when it comes to a soul, we don't want to make a difference between a tzaddik, a righteous person. We're all good. We say kaddish for 11 months. They all interconnected. So that's the beauty. You know, it says a person dies on Shabbos, their soul goes to heaven right away, because Gehenna is not open on Shabbos. So everything you go to Gan Eden right away. That's what it says. You know, it makes you feel good. My mother passed away on Shabbos. She goes to Gan Eden, straight to Gan Eden. Beautiful. I'm still saying kaddish for 11 months. Do whatever I can for her neshama, that her neshama should have its true peace. And I don't go to. Why don't we go 11 months to the cemetery? The first year we don't go to the cemetery. Why do you think we don't go to the cemetery for the first year of a person's passing? Because the soul might still be there. And it's a pain for the soul. If you come there, then in essence, the soul's there, and then it realizes that it didn't yet return to its place. Therefore, we don't go visit the cemetery for the first year. Because in Kabbalah it's written that after 11 months, every neshama goes to Gan Eden, 12 months, and therefore we go after 12 months. You can go visit the cemetery as many times as you want. Because you're surely in Gan Eden. But the first year, you don't know. I don't know. I hope. Do everything I can to make sure that it is. But do I know? I don't know. Don't know.
I have a question.
What's the matter? You're confused what I just said?
First of all, when do you put the foot or headstone on?
Right away, as fast as possible, for that reason. We put the footstone right after Shiva, so that the neshama should go to Gan Eden. The neshama should realize it's got to get out of here.
I have a question.
Because the neshama doesn't want to go to Gan Eden.
I thought there was a little hovering,
Come as me.
the final limbo of these days. There's a little bit of
There's always something, the nefesh. But that's not the Ikon Neshama. The Ikon Neshama goes to Gan Eden. But it hopefully does get to Gan Eden. We have this concept of a Neshama that is stuck in limbo, a Pitera. I don't know, they're stuck in limbo. Stuck in limbo. Whatever that means. I don't know. I don't want to know.
Rabbi, I have a question. You made a statement prior saying that the neshama that we were given
Right,
at the beginning
right. It's pure.
is pure, is good, and
And then I said that it takes time to get to Gan Eden.
yeah.
Because it has luggage.
Okay.
It's got luggage. The neshama is pure, but it got clothing. You clothed it. You clothe the neshama with certain things. So now the neshama has to get rid of its garments. So actually, Gehenim in Torah is a positive thing. If you have dirty garments, you want to go to Gehenim. If you don't go to Gehenim, you're not going to get into Gan Eden. It needs to cleanse its garments. So the faster you go to Gehenim, and the faster you get through it, it's better for the soul. It's a positive thing, Gehenim, even though it's a terrible situation. But it's like you go to the washing machine. I'm sure that it's rough on the clothes. But you want the clothes clean. You don't want to wear dirty clothes. You want the clothes clean. The neshama wants to clean its garments. Its garments, it's all its things that stuck to it on its journey in this world. The neshama is pure. That's like you have dirty clothes. The person's a person. He's wearing dirty clothes. Got to wash his clothes. So the neshama has to go through that process of getting rid of its garbage, negativity. That's why it says, example, you go to a funeral, it says, that's why by Chabad, we don't talk at funerals. Say to him, there's no hesped. Why? There's no eulogies in Chabad. No eulogies. We don't eulogize a person. Why? Because first of all, most eulogies are not true. And that's a pain for the soul. That's not a good thing for the soul. That's a pain because the soul knows the truth. There's a way of lying about me. Pashut sheker. It's not true. And it's a pain for the neshama. It's a pain. Unless you say totally the 100% truth. If you don't say 100% truth, it's a pain for the soul. That's number one. Number two is you talk about the physical side of it. So you guys say, oh, he loved chocolate. He loved to go on trips. That's a pain for the soul. What does the soul care about his trips and chocolate? And it was also like writing. It has no interest at all in the whole situation. It has no interest. It's a pain. All these are things painful for the soul right now. You want to talk about its mitzvahs, but it's good deeds. That's the beauty to the neshama. That should be spoken. But you have to make sure Daka did the good deeds. Right? Because if it didn't do the good deeds, now that's a pain for the soul. Because it didn't do it. So you're saying it did do it, and it didn't do it. Soul's an elam emes. It's the world of truth. Doesn't like to hear sheker because it realizes all the sheker. Sheker is that Gehenna is a sheker, falsity. To the soul, the biggest Gehenna is falsity, fake news. So to the soul, that's a very great pain, and the soul does not want to hear falsity, lies, and not truth.
Yeah, but there's ways of just mentioning the good stuff and
Right.
negating
But you have to make sure that the good stuff is true.
everybody.
And
Did
it-
something good. They had nice hair.
Yeah, but that's the point. That the soul's not interested in that. It has no interest in the good hair. That they had good hair, beautiful hair, or they were styled, they wore their clothes right, or they. Well, what does the soul care about that? It had no interest. There's no purpose in that.
Usually the eulogy and things like that are there for the living, not for the dead.
But you know what? The dead is. But the problem is the dead is right there. She's right there, or he's right there. So you need to think about it, and that's why again by Chabad they don't say any eulogies. Say Tillim, Psalms, because that's the best thing for the neshama. Say Tillim and to that's it, because that's more powerful for the neshama than a eulogy that is not true, and it's tam to Baba Maisa. So
So nobody gets up and speaks.
no, they get up and say Tillim. Nobody gets up and
good.
speaks. I once did a funeral, and one of the kids got up and said, "This is all." She was like, it was a girl actually. This is all not true. My father was this and that. Like everybody was passing out. Like they were telling me, "Get her." I was a rabbi. Like, get her off, get her off. The sad thing is that she himself said the truth. It actually happened. I tell you, it was the. She himself said the truth, but it's So that's it. When a person dies, they were wonderful. They're going to a wonderful place. Everything is wonderful. Like until when they're alive, everything is miserable. When they die, they were wonderful. They're going to a wonderful place. Everything's a machaya. Say some tillim will be better, and don't worry about wonderful and where it's wonderful. With purpose in life, Tov Shem Tov Mishem and Tov. That's what the Mishnah says. It's better a good name. Shem Tov, Baal Shem Tov died with a good name. To die with a good name, to pass on this world a good name, because you did your purpose. You did what you came to the world for. You did what you elevated the world. You made this world a better world. That is the best eulogy that you can say. And that's a eulogy. You don't have to say that. Everybody knows that. You don't have to say something that people know, right? You have to really say something because nobody knows. Everybody thought the guys know. They now, come to the funeral. Wow, he was a great guy. Nobody knew that, but he was a great guy. Okay, you don't have to eulogize a great person because everybody knows that he's a great person. Correct? Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.